Alright, welcome back. Now, simple skills. We've done a few of these videos. For those of you who've just tuned in or just joined the channel, we do a little thing every now and again called simple skills videos, and it's not attempting to patronise you or intended to teach you how to suck eggs. It's just a way of imparting, if I may, some very basic simple skills, as the title says, to those of you who've never worked with metal and tools and things that you do to make projects on your bikes. Now, it's getting increasingly expensive these days to get your bike serviced, so this whole reason for our channel is to try and impart some of that knowledge onto you and to give you a simple way to fix things yourself that don't cost any money. Now, many of you have said in the last couple of videos we've mentioned that I may do a simple skills on using a hacksaw. Honestly, I never did that. I haven't done it. I did think of it a long time ago, but I haven't done it because I just think it's kind of teaching you how to suck eggs. You know, who doesn't know how to use a hacksaw? Can you use a hacksaw, Penny? Do you know?
I could give it a go.
Could give it a go, right. Now this is the whole point, what Penny said. Now when you go back to your school days, hands up at the back who did metal work at school. If you don't even know what that means, then obviously you didn't. Now when I was at school, back in the days of black and white, we had a class, pretty much, I'm sure most of you, just called metalwork. It was just general introduction to engineering. And it was everything from the most basic things like riveting, actually using a rivet, a metal rivet, putting it through a hole and beating the end of that rivet over. Old school engineering. It was also how to use a chisel, how to use a hacksaw properly, how to use all of the tools you might use, even a file. There's another one we might do later. How to use a file in the right way, how to do draw filing. All these things are something that an engineer just knows because they learn them in day one, week one of their apprenticeship. So you haven't got time here to do an apprenticeship for you, but I want to just impart some basic stuff and simple skills, hacksaw. That's what this is about. Now the use of a hacksaw, it isn't difficult. You kind of go like that and it cuts a slot in something, but there is actually a wrong way to do it. And a lot of you have said every time you pick a hacksaw up, it just goes all over the place. You end up with the cut going in the wrong place and you bugger something up. Yeah, we've all done that. It's quite simple. But I'm going to show you a few things, show you basically what a hacksaw is and how it works and how it's probably the most incorrectly named tool in your toolbox. The word hacksaw is the last thing it should be called because it's a precision instrument in my opinion. And I'm going to show you how to cut something, a piece of sheet metal, straight, and the most difficult thing of all, to cut straight is a piece of tubing. That's really difficult, but it isn't hard if you know how to use a hacksaw properly. That's the secret. Right, so welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Simple skills, hacksaw. Okay, now try and keep this simple skills. Okay, now a hacksaw is simply a really fine metal saw. Come in close, man. Have a close look at the blade. They come in different sizes. You've got a coarse, a medium, and a fine blade. This is a medium blade. If I put my hand behind, can you see the teeth in close? Mm-hmm. Now the teeth on that blade, there are 24 of them for every inch of the blade. So there are 24 teeth per inch, or as they're sold and rated, 24 TPI. TPI means teeth per inch, and that's how a saw blade is rated. And I would suggest if you're going to do general metal work on general mild steel, you should go for 24 TPI. That's the right size to go for. And these are a good quality blade, these Irwin blades. You can use Eclipse. Eclipse blades are very, very good. There are different mates, I'm sure. Now, when you see any saw blade, one thing you'll always notice about it is that the paint is all scratched off. This is a horrible blade. That's a really bad quality one, and the teeth are broken off it. When you get this business, they are consumable. They do, the teeth break off. Can you see on that? Mm-hmm. The state of that is literally scrap. Shouldn't use them when they get to that state. But when you put them in, they fit a certain direction. They have an arrow because the teeth are kind of facing that way like little baby chisels. And being as there's 24 teeth per inch, that means they're only 1 millimeter each because there's 25 mil in an inch. So they're little tiny 1 millimeter chisels and they wear out the metal. That's how they work. So I'm going to show you is if you have a really coarse blade on a piece of metal, piece of sheet metal, it's going to catch because the teeth are too big for the metal. So if you turn the metal at a side angle, it runs over a little bit easier. So little techniques you can use with a hacksaw, but there's one secret that I find will help you to start learning and start practicing. I'm going to put a fresh blade in this because that one's just to show you this. Start with. I'm going to put this little piece of aluminium tubing in. The first thing on any hacksaw cut, when you're using a hacksaw at all, is don't force it. The old mantra, don't lean on it, monkey boy, it really works with a hacksaw. So many people, the way they go wrong, as I said in a few of you in the comments box, it isn't difficult to use a hacksaw, there's nothing complex about it, but there is a wrong way to do it. And if you do it wrong, then you'll have quite a hard time. And I'll show you both ways. I'll show you how the most people seem to do it wrong, and I'll show you a really easy way to do it to make cutting a piece of metal with a hacksaw an absolute joy. Now, I know this is aluminium, but it is quite thick, so it should give us a good representation of the job. Now, with anything, when you cut, I'll show you this. When you say, I don't know, I always find that if you take a little piece of masking tape like that, and you put it on your job like that, that gives you something you can write on with a pencil. So if we're gonna cut there, that's the mark we're gonna cut. First thing to do is to draw backwards, because remember the teeth on this are all kind of facing that way. So if you start from here and you try and force forwards, you'll start in the hardest possible way. If you come at the back first and draw backwards, then that's the far easiest way. They're just rolling over the surface while they wear themselves a little starter groove. So the best thing to do is use your thumbnail and put your thumbnail against the gap there, just against there, and put the blade just up against your thumbnail. Be careful, don't hurt yourself. And then start at this end, and just with the weight of the hacksaw, don't force downwards, the saw is heavy enough. And just draw back in one movement. And then do another one. And then start to go forward. Now the mistake that most people made is they'll start to force, they'll start to lean on this, and you see this going on, it starts to catch. The more you lean on it, remember these little tiny 1mm chisels are trying their hardest to work into that metal, and the more you lean on them, the more they've got to push that metal out. But they're really hard, they're extremely high tempered steel, they're extremely sharp as well. If you run your handle on that, you'll cut yourself. You know, they are sharp, hard metal teeth, and this soft metal will yield. It's just patience is the key. So when you get your saw cut started, just make a couple of strokes and use the full length of the blade. Doing this a million miles an hour with the middle inch of the blade, that's no use to anyone, because that will wear out. Remember, these blade teeth wear, and as they wear out, obviously you have to replace the blade. So if you're going to bugger up the middle 3 inches by doing this, then the whole blade is shagged out a lot quicker. So just coming in there and slide backwards and forwards. And keep the saw upright. Can you come in behind, Pen? Mm-hmm. If you start doing this, if you start boogieing around like that, you're going to get caught, you're going to scratch all the side of the blade and jam it in the groove, make the groove a miserable shape, and it's not going to make a nice cut. So keep it dead upright and do gentle strokes, just really gentle strokes on it. You put your hand on this end just to steady it. Don't pull it or push it. This hand does all the work. Slide backwards and forwards. You just slide through the metal. Don't lean on it, light pressure. Real light pressure. All the way through. Here we are. Now the trick is, if you look at the blade after you've used it, where the paint's been scuffed up on the side of the blade, that demonstrates that as you're cutting down, you're going a little bit sideways. So even my technique isn't by any means perfect, but that, we lob through that piece of handlebar in a matter of a few dozen strokes. It's really easy. Right. Something else that's quite hard, sheet metal. That's even harder to cut, I'll show you. Right. So the next thing to cut that's a little bit difficult is a piece of sheet metal. And again, there's a right and a wrong way to do it. It isn't that difficult. The problem comes, just show you on this pen, have a quick look at this. You've got a vise in your workshop, make yourself a couple of copper jaws, soft copper jaws. The reason is that the jaws of the vise are usually got this kind of meat tenderizer pattern, and if you put a piece of metal in there and you bite that in there nice and tight so you can cut it, you'll put dents in that, and if it's a job you're doing for something, you'll end up having to rub those out, with sandpaper or emery cloth and then make a good job or whatever. But better still, put some copper in there. Just put, look, one piece in at a time, beat it over, then put another piece in, beat it over that way, and you end up with 2 soft copper jaws. And the nice thing with those is, when you do it up, you can do it up tight as you like, right up like that. Take it out, there's no bite marks in it or anything because it has got soft copper against it. Okay. So when you put that in, this is another little mistake. This is kind of an early metalwork lesson for me, is don't try cutting a piece of metal that's right up here in the vise, because it's going to bend and flex in the vise, and it's just going to be impossible. It's not going to happen. We're going to make a mess of it, bend it and bugger it up. Better still, if you can, is get it as close to the vise or clamp or whatever it is that you're clamping it in as possible, like that. Nice and tight, and cut down the side. If you want the cut to be this side, if you're right-handed, cut down this side, wherever you possibly can, if possible. And then it's very different. You can then put the saw, again, start at the back. This is only a 1.4 millimeters thick, and these are 1mm blade teeth, so that is right on the borderline of too big. You would possibly go for 32 TPI for this, but let's see how 24 goes through it. Thumb there to guide the blade for your first drawback cut. Do a second one. We go forward. Let's go forward again. Here we are. The principle is that stuff's a bit too thick for tin snips, and if you try cutting off a little piece like that, you distort the job. Now hacksaws are perfectly good for that. It's about the control. It's about taking your time. Don't lean on it, keep that upright and just stroke it through, almost smooth as silk. Don't lean it, don't push it, don't hack it. Again, the most inappropriately named saw in your toolbox, a hacksaw. Hacksaw means it kind of infers that you hack at it, but you don't. That's the last thing you do. In fact, you glide through. It's a precision saw, right? Hardest thing ever to cut straight is a piece of exhaust tubing. To cut a straight cut, in fact, that isn't perfect. But to cut it straight is really difficult, and I'll show you a quick way to do it, a simple way to mark a perfect line round to make a cut straight through there, because that's the hardest thing to cut, is thin tubing. Basically because you're making a multi-angled cut. You're making 2 cuts at once as you go down through each side of the tube, and they're changing angle all the time. When you cut through a piece of tubing, you cut like that one, dead straight in one go, ever so easy. But cutting down through that side and that side all at the same time, it's quite difficult, and you end up wandering off and making an angled cut. So I'll show you how we do it. A simple way to mark it straight and cut it straight as well. So yeah, it's done. Bit of masking tape is purely so I can see the pencil line. Pencil there. Right, easiest thing to mark a parallel line around a piece of tubing is a 90-degree angled piece of card. So this is just a bit of sandpaper. Put it up against there. Now remember, that angle on the paper is 90 degrees. So if that goes round like that, I think I'll show this in a few videos. By the time you come back round here, when that meets there, as long as that's in line, oops, there we are, then that's sticking out the top, is dead parallel. So that line around there is dead 90 degrees to the upright of the tube. It's a real simple way to make a straight line. You try and mark around the tape, all the way around. Okay, got a line drawn. It's nice and parallel all the way around. I'm going to slip another piece of tubing inside it just to support it. And that, you may not have that, but I always keep a selection of scrap metal, bits of tube, all sorts of things. Even if I have that, that's a piece of scrap tube, but it will be useful at some point. You'll be glad you kept it. There's no point in throwing it out. Right, now what I've done with that is slid it in so that where I'm going to cut is off the edge of that. I don't want to cut the inside piece, this makes it harder. But that now is double thickness and almost impossible to crush compared to what it was. In with the soft jaws, and again as before, make sure that when you put the job in the vise, that it's as close as possible to the method of support. So there's no point in having this line that you're going to cut right out here because there's too much leverage and it won't stay still. I'm just going to put that in there. Nice and supported. Now, all we've got to do, just as the last time, is one slide backwards. Once you get that line cut, then I just need to slide down through that in one neat cut. And it's again the same principle as before. Don't lean on it, don't hack or push down on it. Don't push through with any gusto. Just let the blade slide backwards and forth. Let the saw do the work. That's what it's all about. Starting at the back edge. For the first few seconds, as you can see there, first initial part of the cut, you're going to get a solid piece of metal effectively. But any second, once you start going through this, you're going to break through that, and you're going to break through to then two side pieces. So you make a hole there in a second, and then it will change. The way you feel it will change. So just be ready for that. It'll get a little bit more sticky. So you just back off the pressure. There it is. There it is, you can see. You can hear the change, it's broken through the tube there. And it will start to cut down either side now, nice and gently. And when you get to the bottom bit, so as you end up, you can see down in there, we've cut down through now, and we've got obviously a little bit of solid metal at the bottom as they both join up again. A little trick with that is when you get to that bottom bit, turn the blade outwards and start to cut that way, and it takes the burr off nicely. Like that. There we are. And there we are, neatly cut. Now, obviously, it isn't 100% perfect because no single hacksaw cut is ever going to be dead straight perfect. You might get lucky, it's very rare though, I don't. But then all you need to do is put your lap disc in the vise, spin it up, and then just get it absolutely perfect on there. Then you can really go straight to welding or whatever else you want to do with it. The principle is whether you cut thick handlebar tubing, you're probably more likely to cut lumps of handlebar off. This stuff, for instance, if you want to slug your forks, you want to space up a bit of preload in the forks, 7/8 handlebar tubing is brilliant. That's what that is. It's a lump of Renthal handlebar. I think after about 20 years, that's about all that's left of it. I keep using bits of it for all sorts of stuff. So having bits of scrap and stuff around, they're excellent. Get practicing, that's what it's about. The hacksaw, again, the most incorrectly named tool in the toolbox. It's a precision instrument, and you can make really nice cuts with it first time every time. It's just about practice, like so many of these things. The whole simple skills thing is designed to give you a bit of insight into the wrong way to do it, to avoid that, and then go and do it the right way. And everything else is about patience. Be careful, take care, don't hurt yourself. If you want to wear gloves, then go wear gloves. Once you've practiced a little bit, you'll find that you get better with it than you think you are. It isn't difficult. This stuff isn't complex. It's just avoiding the wrong way. And with these, it's because people lean on them. Put too much muscle into a hacksaw, before you know it, it's got jagged lumps missing out of it, your teeth get knocked off these. And there's the other point. A hacksaw like that, a blade like that, I would probably put through 6 or 7 cuts like that, and I'll change it, honestly, because once they start getting blunt and teeth start getting broken off, then you make a bad cut. And bad tools make bad jobs. You get spanners, wrenches, sockets, when they get welly booted and the wrong size, they start ringing off nuts. You know, worn out tools can cause more damage and, of course, the worst thing of all, injury to people. So there we are, simple skills, hacksaw, really not difficult. Cut sheet metal, whatever it might be, solid bar, even a piece of solid bar, whatever it is, you can do it by hand. Anybody can pick up a machine tool. And I've seen so many guys on the internet, they berate us because I use hand tools. I absolutely love hand tools. Not because I've got some tradition of it or anything, I just love using hand tools. I don't really like using a drill. I've got a brace and bit somewhere, which I still use now and again. It's a great way to do things. It's very therapeutic, it's very rewarding, because when the job's finished, you did it all by hand. Hand skills are something that are seriously lacking in today's world. Schools don't teach metalwork anymore. It's all about health and safety, which is just rubbish because we never got hurt by it. It's about taking care, using common sense, and practicing. Practice, practice, practice. That's what it's about. So there we are. I hope it doesn't patronise too many of you, and I hope it doesn't teach any of you to suck eggs. There is a wrong way to use hacksaw. I hope that's something towards teaching you the right way, and you can practice the rest. Anything else, Ben?
That's it. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Tazy. Ride safe, and we will see you back on the project for some fabrication in the next video at the weekend. See you next time.